Okay, so the water industry, I mean, it's no secret it's facing a number of major challenges. I guess climate change is potentially the biggest. You've got things like optimizing project investment and meeting, I mean, growing customer expectations. So I guess starting point, if you can perhaps just characterize what those challenges are, if there are any more, and just the scale of, what the industry is facing, if that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think, it is significant challenge, significant investment. The water companies draft business plans, you know, in there it's a 90 billion pound potential spend, which is effectively double the last AMP. So significant investment required. You've touched on some of the key issues. I think there is the public perception issue as well. There is a long-term lack of investment in the assets caused by a number of different issues, and also I think the overlay to all of that is really supply chain resources and capacity. So we've got this probably perfect storm of lots of drivers, lots of investment, and challenges around the supply chain in terms of being able to resource that and pulls into more attractive industries.
And I know, Costain, you might not be suggesting it's sort of the magic one, the magic bullet, but certainly a way to address the situation, perhaps the best way is in terms of taking a systems thinking approach. So it'd be good to understand a little bit about what that is, and then we can perhaps drill down into a bit more detail as to the benefits it brings with it.
Yeah, well, there's various, I suppose, technical definitions of systems thinking, and it can be seen as quite complex. But I think, it really boils down to is thinking about an issue or problem, drawing a clear boundary around that, and then thinking that as an integrated system, and thinking about how all the individual components come together, so you get that optimized, holistic approach. Various tools that can be used to do the analysis, etc. Some are saying numerical, some digital, but some even fairly simple around, wicked problems, those sort of things that we all talk about. So yeah, it's really that structured, integrated approach.
And in terms of how the benefits it brings, I'm just thinking, for example, how it might help improve collaboration and cross-boundary working within the sector. What does it do in that
Yeah,
aspect?
yeah. Well, as I said, it's really looking at that integrated, holistic solution. So that is thinking about all the various partners, stakeholders that are part of the system. So naturally, it does drive that sort of collaborative approach by identifying the multiple stakeholders and then actually thinking about how together those partners can get the optimal solution. And just thinking about really the water cycle and the water industry, very much built around catchments, around river basins. So we are looking at that sort of wider system. And as we all know, so many different stakeholders, interested parties, impacting on those facets, that thinking about it holistically, for me, it just naturally drives you to that collaborative, integrated solution.
And in what form could an integration model work? And I mean, have you got any examples where is it already working, well at the moment?
Yeah, I think for me, if you look at best practice around project program delivery, one of the key points is that there's effectively a single organisation with that guide in mind across a project or program to drive the end-to-end thinking around the solution, how it goes into operation, how you deliver the benefits, how the supply chain comes into it, how you really get that partnership working and the collaboration from the widest group of stakeholders. So that's really the role of an integrator, an integrated delivery type approach. It can come from an intelligent client doing it themselves. It can come from a delivery partner type approach, or it can come from sort of enterprise alliance best athlete principles. And it's recognised the infrastructure clients user group P13 work as an integrator as that key organisation that joins the whole ecosystem together to drive successful integrated delivery. Yeah, and where is it used? Lots of different places. A lot of use in places like defence, aerospace, and rail, certainly abroad. I guess the most probably famous sort of approach has been London 2012 Olympics, where we had sort of delivery partner fulfilling that role.
And you mentioned there a role. There is a role. Is there already an organisation or a body that can facilitate the integration and support delivery partners, or is couldn't understand, or is it all people within the supply chain that do it, or do you think that there already is, or there needs to be perhaps someone outside of it that can coordinate it?
Yeah, I think different organisations approach it in different ways, but I think there is in the water industry we've probably not really focused on this true integration so far, and I think the scale of the challenges of AMP8, the complexity of the work, the diversity of the work, the need to collaborate with so many other stakeholders is really going to drive that need for an organisation. As I say, it can be that intelligent client, it can be a defined body, or it can be some sort of enterprise that really drives it. I think, clients, water companies are going to struggle to sort of grow the capability and capacity to do that themselves. So I think there is definitely that role for a defined body to look across each of the company's AMP8 programs to really drive that sort of holistic approach, which really is aligned to the systems thinking.
And in terms of systems thinking, the holistic approach you've outlined, are there lessons that can be learned from other industries? I mean, there are other industries further advanced or do these things better. So what can the water industry learn elsewhere?
Yeah, I think there's a few things to learn. I think there's three key things really. I think one of them is about really understanding as a client what you want from that delivery partner or integrator. So, making sure that whatever grouping you appoint or organisation to do that really has that capability and alignment with your objectives. You need to then make sure that you engage that partner in the right way. There's got to be aligned incentives. So, my view is that you've got to incentivize the partner for AMP8 with the overall water company outcomes for AMP8. If you do that, you then start to drive value, you start to drive innovation, you link it into some of the net zero and climate change challenges. Because one of the lessons that we've seen in other industries is unless you do that, the delivery partner just becomes a sort of resource augmentation type model. And it's just about putting people into client bodies, but not really having that aligned objectives and really driving overall performance. So as I say, it's key to get that aligned incentives that really drive the performance that you need.
And what about the in terms of best practice on production thinking? Have you got any sort of thoughts or examples of that?
Yeah, well, it's something that within Costain we're really committed to. We're seeing great benefits of production thinking right across the water industry. For example, a water treatment works project we recently delivered with Thames Water. We took 45% off the duration of that by just thinking about modularization, thinking about how we could automate the process. So yeah, lots of great examples. It is really about, I think, again, a systematic approach to production thinking. So that's about thinking about pre-production, what can you do in terms of modularization? It's about efficiency. So really driving lean thinking into the delivery phase, and then thinking about automation and robotics to really drive that. An example from another sector is work we were involved in on the Elizabeth line, where we use robotics for fixing effectively 250,000 bracket fixing within the tunnels for M&E follow-on work. So, that was about using robots to confirm the exact location of the fixings to drill the holes into the tunnel lining and then to fix the bracket. So, the quality and the sort of increased production rate and the health and safety risk reduction from that approach was really significant.
Yeah, and I mean, sort of developing that. What industries are particularly good when it comes to, or the best when it comes to designing, delivering things like carbon efficiency and on social impact? And so I guess again, what can the water industry, what lessons can it learn from elsewhere?
Yeah, well, I think there are some good examples within the water industry itself. The leader in that is probably Thames Tideway. So they really had a focus from day one in terms of 12 focus areas, things like greenhouse gases, things like STEM education, things like getting lorries off the roads to really drive the social value and low carbon agenda. I think another great example is Anglian Water's Strategic Pipeline Alliance. So that's effectively a almost 400-kilometre sort of water main through the spine of Anglian Water's region. But by actually thinking about that in an integrated systems manner, myself and the other partners in the alliance have been able to reduce the embodied carbon for that project by 65% in a sort of whole life view. And that is very much about using a digital twin to actually think about not just a single pipeline, but thinking about all the interfaces with the various other treatment work, storage units, all of that sort of thing. So you actually really drive that. I think in other industries, other sectors, HS2, I've mentioned it already, but they from day one, they started off with a real focus on reducing carbon by 50%. And, with some of the work we and other supply chain members are doing, are on track to actually achieve that. Also, national highways, again, really strong targets, clarity around the tools and approaches they need, and a real embedment into projects. So they've got really focused carbon targets at the project level and things like targets for biodiversity net gain that really are, they've got to the stage where they're just business as usual, that you drive those through, and it's created some great innovation.
Maybe just in summarising, and I know it's sensitive, so one doesn't want to be too critical. But in terms of how would you mark the water industry, I suppose, as to where it is now, and being sort of pessimistic if nothing changes, sort of what are the disadvantages, the costs environmentally, pounds and pence, and if they conversely get it right and really grab systems thinking and move forward, what are the advantages? So sort of where they are and moving forward, the worst case and the best case scenario, if that's you're happy to do that.
I guess worst case is business as usual. So we'll crack on, and the industry has achieved some great efficiencies, some great steps forward since sort of privatisation. And we'll sort of continue in delivering at the level we are doing. But that just won't enable us to meet those challenges around greenhouse gases, nature-based solutions, public perception, and speed and pace of investment. So, it's ultimately, I suppose, the extremes is we carry on as we are, and the sector is probably in that position where, not held in high regard by the public, or we really get hold of this, we really drive the systems thinking, partnership working, collaboration into AMP8 and into AMP9 delivery, and then we probably get back to that place where we were 5 or 6 years ago, as the industry really being seen as a sector leader, as contributing to society, all the great stuff about wholesome water, improving, making a positive impact on the environment. So for me, it is quite stark in terms of the two extremes of where we could be.
And if I'm allowed to ask, and of course you don't have to answer, are you an optimist that they will sort of take the positives and move forward at pace with it, or do you slightly nervous that as you say, business as usual will continue a bit too long?
No, I'm ever the optimist. I've seen some of the great stuff. I've been involved in the industry right since the first AMP. And I've seen some amazing stuff happen, some great achievements. And I think what we're seeing is from the companies as they're procuring their AMP8 models, they are starting to bring some of those things, systematic thinking, integration into their delivery models. So I'm quite positive. An example of that, we've just recently been appointed as a partner to Northumbrian's Living Water Enterprise. So that is really a fully integrated, collaborative approach, building on a fully integrated supply chain ecosystem, looking to really bring the partnership working. So for me, that's a great example of putting the foundations in place for success. We're seeing that probably right across the industry, and really reaching out to the supply chain and trying to drive performance by that integrated collaborative approach. So yeah, I'm optimistic. It'd be maybe good to do this in 5 years' time then, and see if I'm still as optimistic. I hopefully will be.
No, that's fine. I'll hold you to that, or maybe a bit before that. But at least for now, Jason, really appreciate the time. Thanks for the insights you've given us. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks then, Phil. Cheers, bye.